I'm going to demonstrate how to make a Boar Tusk bracelet, and I'm going to link our DIY playlist below because we make anything, I've definitely made anything on here from ponytail holders to jewelry to purses. So a lot of it you don't really have to be a hardcore crafter to do, and you don't have to do like the design I did. You can make anything. Like if I'm showing how to do, like, I don't know, a bat bracelet, you could substitute it for a butterfly, or if I'm showing gemstone headbands, you could make skulls, you know, so it's kind of neat because you can do that. If you guys are new, do check out our other playlists and subscribe. I'm Morticia. And right now, this one, though, is a little bit more specialized. You could substitute something else, but I am showing you for a specific Boar Tusk. And so, yeah. And it's a little bit more involved than some of my other things that I've made, but not that much. So you still don't have to be a hardcore crafter. You just have to really want a Boar Tusk bracelet or two, which I really did when I started doing this. I read about, this chick had one in this fantasy series I was reading. She had like a set of Boar Tusk bracelets, and I went, oh, I wanted one, I want one. And I couldn't make it happen, so I had to make them, which is usually what happens when I see something I want or read about something I want. I end up having to make it for myself. So this animal was not killed in a bad way, blah, 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 blah. I've actually had these for years, so I think I've said the obligatory stuff. Now, here's how the finished product will look. There's a Boar Tusk in the middle. I'm using aluminum crafting wire right now from Joann's that I'll show you. And you can use like whatever crafting wire you want. I would say at least 20 gauge, or you'll have to double up to make it sturdy enough. And then it has a clasp in the back, and it's just going to close thus. And I knew this would happen when I'm actually trying to do it on camera. I'm never as fluid as I am when I don't think anybody's watching me. But anyway, it's going to look like that when it's closed. You can make it looser if you want. It's just kind of like a cuff or bangle style with the Boar Tusk in the middle. So that is how it is going to look. Basically, it's lightweight, it's nice, it's sturdy. I've had this one for several years, and I decided I had this other piece lying around and I would make one. Now, this was once a whole Boar Tusk, and I got the end of it cut off to make a pendant that I still have. And when the end got cut off, the rest of it was like a piece like this, without the silver, obviously, because a Boar Tusk growing silver on his tusk would be kind of cool. But it was like this, and it just split down the middle because it's a little bit hollow inside there. Well, a lot hollow inside. When the end that is not hollow was cut off, this just kind of split. So I went, ooh, I can do a bracelet. And now I'm like, you know, I did want 2 bracelets. I can do 2 bracelets, and it's time for another DIY up here on this channel. Now, I usually get my crafting wire from Fire Mountain or Walmart, but in the holidays, everybody was out of everything, and I needed some really badly, so I went to Joann's, and I got this for next to nothing. It was like $2 or $3, and it's a ton of aluminum that looks silver, crafting wire, but this wasn't in the stuff with the beads and the jewelry. This was in the floral section. And it still is nice and shiny, and it doesn't turn, and it's all good, safe to wear, etc. And this is 22 gauge. I think I said to use 20 gauge. 20 gauge is probably the best, but 22 gauge is not as thin as 24 and is doable, so we're going to do that. So I would say 20 to 22 gauge. And I never do this. I'm like a cook. You know how a cook goes, oh, throw in a pinch of this and a dash of that, and other people want exact measurements. They want you to exactly measure, you know, and I don't. I just go, get about this much wire. I'd rather have too much wire than not enough wire. And you can always add more wire if you do not get enough wire, but I'm probably guessing this is what, 3 feet or something. So if you need a measurement, start with, let's say 3 feet, because I would say more, but you know, it's going to be like awkward to work with eventually, and you could poke yourself in the eye or something, which I would say is why I'm wearing these cool steampunk sunglasses, but it's just because they're cool steampunk sunglasses. Because you're going to be doing a lot of tossing wire around, so if it would make you feel better to wear cool steampunk sunglasses while you're doing this, do feel free. Okay, so all you need is scissors, wire, a clasp of your choice. You can use toggle or lobster claw or whatever you want. And obviously the Boar Tusk. Again, this is the Boar Tusk without the end, and it just split down the middle, whatever you end up doing. See, but it's got such a cool curve right here that it curves right to your wrist. So it makes a good centerpiece. And I think this is a good piece for either gender. So let's do this together. Now what I'm doing is really simple, but it's going to hold it in place. I'm just wrapping it around. I started from the middle of this long piece of wire here. See, I've got a lot on each end. Started from the middle, and I'm just kind of wrapping this around in a spiral. That's all I'm doing. Like this. And there's a little notch here that, you know, naturally happened in this bone when it got cut, and I'm actually just putting the wire into it. So if you see extra notches on something, you know, stick the wire in it, take advantage of that notch for more security and sturdiness in your piece. Now, putting that down, gonna get another wire approximately the same length. Again, you don't have to be OCD about it or anything, because you can always cut what's extra, and this wire is so inexpensive, luckily, that you can do that. You know, they do that. They'll put a lot of stuff for jewelry that you can use in other departments, like floral, and it's way cheaper for flowers because nobody's going to spend a boat ton of money to make flower arrangements, but they'll charge you more for the same amount, or excuse me, they'll charge you more for a lot less of an amount in the jewelry section of this wire stuff because they can, and they think people don't know. And it's not like sterling silver with the jewelry, it's just like copper coated or whatever. It's like copper with a silver coating. Okay, yeah, this is... I recently picked up my finished bracelet. We don't need to do more to it, it's fine. Okay. But what I did with the finished bracelet, I brought it out so I could show you it being finished, but I also brought it out so I could cheat when I need to check the size. I can make it exactly the same size, but I'm going to show you guys how to do it too, to check for your wrist size, because you're not going to have a finished bracelet to cheat with. But since I'm making it for you, I have to cheat so I don't take too long and bore you to tears. Again, what I'm doing with the second piece is just... It's catching on my lace skirt. Why do I have to wear lace? Okay, because I like it. It's catching, but anyway, you're doing the same thing with the second piece as you did with the first. You're just twining it around the Boar Tusk. And if you're going, Morticia, you already did that with the first piece. Why are you doing it with the second? To fortify it and to give it just extra. I like to be able to bathe and sleep and chase down wolves in my jewelry, whatever I'm doing. And I like it to be sturdy, and when I buy jewelry from somewhere, I'm very upset if I'm chasing down a wolf and my bracelet breaks. I don't feel like I got my money's worth, so when I'm making it for myself, I have to make it sturdy just like I would like it if I'm buying it. So, alright, so we just, you know, twirl it around, start from the middle and go to each end and twirl it around the tusk, or whatever you happen to be putting in the center if you're not using a tusk, whatever. And so you're doing that. Just twice, again, it makes it more sturdy, it's not going to slip out. And then, like you making a pendant or something, you just twirl these two ends together so that the tusk stays put and doesn't come out of the end here. And the same on this. I'm just kind of like you would close bread or something, you know, you take that little twisty tie and twirl it and makes a cute little fancy spiraled, archaic looking pretty. Now we're getting to the actual bracelet part, which is again just a lot more twirling to make thick wire. I'll be glad when it gets shorter and quits catching in my skirt, so let's do this. Now you're going to twirl it just over and over itself. This is what happens when you use long pieces, but it makes it simpler in the long run. Okay, it just wants to tangle up like a phone cord. It's not a phone cord though, you're not a phone cord, stop acting like it, wire. Okay, see, I'm just twirling it. We're making the rest of the band for this bracelet, like the cuff. And you're wondering how big to make it, and I'm going to show you. And if you need to make it bigger, again, it's easy to just go back and fix it. Because this wire is very malleable until you start making it thicker, which we won't do till later when you're happy with the size of your bracelet. So, twirly, twirly. Now, I'm just going to guesstimate to stop here, but I'll show you how to check to see if that's right in a minute. But let's do the other side. And if you make it too long and you go, that's going to be too big for my wrist, you can always go back and fix it. So, I would normally do this faster, but I'm trying to go slow so people see what I'm doing. And then I will probably skip after I show you the general gist so we can all go faster. Okay, now. So you got these, you just twirled it over each other. That's going to be thicker in a minute. I'm going to show you how to go back. But to check your wrist size, you just put it around like this. Now I'm having to bend it to make it. And then you go, okay, do I want it this size with a clasp? Do I want it tighter? What do I want to do? And then you put the clasp where you're going to want it. I want it about right here. So I'm holding where my hand right now where I want it to stop. I did guesstimate it nicely, but I make these all the time, so it's like, okay. And now I have my little clasp, and I'm going to put it on, but we're not done. We're just kind of doing the base to make it the right length, and then it's going to be about making it strong enough. not to be all bendy. So you just put the clasp on and double checking that I got it where I want it, maybe slightly, little tiny bit shorter because I kind of want it to hug my wrist a little. Okay, and I'm just managing this long wire. You twirl it again just like you were doing, but now you're just holding the clasp in place. You just stuck it on one of the pieces of wire and now you just twirl it. And now here's the fun part, because I'm making it stronger and shorter, getting all these long wire pieces out of my space. You want to take it back in on itself now that you've got it the length that you want it. So I'm going to hold these two pieces together, make them become one. Doesn't that sound romantic, Gomez?
Yes.
It is now becoming... Oops, sorry, camera. Gomez is why he got glasses on too, so I don't put anybody's eye out making this. That would be kind of tragically spooky, right? Yay. We could take the camera to the ER. Okay, now put these together because you can make it, it's better to make it stronger. When they're together, you're combining the width and there's also less work to do. And you do the same thing where you're twirling it. This is so long. That sounded wrong. You take this and twirl it in on itself, back up. Instead of going down, you're just putting it back up around what you already did the same way, see? So you're going like this. I'm about to get you, you long piece that's in my way. I will get you on the other side in just a second, and I'll show you how to make where the clasp goes. But right now, so you've made this. What? Sorry, camera. Sorry, camera. This is the first time I've done a bracelet like this on camera, you guys. Okay, so I'm curving it again to like here. I just bent it around to make it like a wrist shape for my hand. And no, we're going to do the other side and then it gets faster. Yay. Okay, so right on the other side where I did the clasp, I'm going to take this one and make instead a loop for the clasp to go. And that's the same thing, just a little more twirly to add length, and then you just kind of turn it in on itself like this. Make a nice big loop and the clasp will catch on it like that. That's centered about right. Let's see, a little bit longer, but like I said, you just go back and fix it. So I'm just bringing it back up like this. And I feel like for those of you who already make jewelry and know how to do this, like if this were a pendant bail or something, it's boring, so you can fast forward, but I'm also trying to make this friendly for those who have never done this before. So you just bring it around on itself like that. Now I want to check that it's the right size, so I'm just going to put my wrist in it, and I'm not going to bother trying to clasp it because it'll take a minute, and I'm not trying to bore you guys, but I'm just trying to go, if I do close it, will this fit? It will. It'll be slightly more snug than I want, so I'm just going to expand it a tiny bit. Again, you're going to have to do this yourself, so I thought, I could cut all this out, but then I'm not keeping it real and showing you how to fix it. So I just took a little bit out. Now if I were going to clasp it, it would be perfect. This is where I want it. Right here, because I don't want it to move too much, so that's good. So I'm going to tie it off. And the way that I tie it off is to just go twirl it around itself. Like, oops, sorry camera. So, I'm almost done abusing you, camera, because we're going to have a lot less. Alright, yes, I talk to inanimate objects, but that's okay. They don't answer back usually. Alright, so we just twined it around itself, and now we're doing the same thing that we did with the other side where we're doing the spiral around, but we're doing back up toward the Boar Tusk again, so that we are making this cuff part of the bracelet more sturdy and strong. The way bracelets should be. So it's going to have that just nice little twirly spiral design because it's very simple. All you're doing is going around and around. So, you still don't have to be a hardcore crafter or wire wrap aficionado to do this if you don't want to be. And it's just something to practice that's a little different. This wire, see, I'm bending it to make sure it fits around the wrist curve to comfortably. Now, you don't have to be like a wire aficionado to do this. It's just a quick twirl. Just something new to try. Now that I'm back up here to the Boar Tusk, I'm going to go around it just one more final time to make sure it's nice and sturdy. And there it goes. I'm getting back over here, and I'm about to do that on the same side with the other side. And then we use the excess to go back on the cuff itself over here, like this. See, now I'm using that side's over here. Everybody's just hanging out together and getting all twirly. And again, this is to make the cuff nice and sturdy. And when you get the end piece, like here I'm getting to the end of that one strand, I'm just folding it down. You can use pliers to just press it down, make sure it's not poking you. And then we go back up over it again. So you just keep going back and forth to make sure that this end cuff part is nice and sturdy. And see, it's gonna look all spirally and nice. Go back around again. See, just it's all that back and forth until it's done. It's very simple. And now we're done with this side. Now we're just gonna have to do the other side. But see, it's a little bit of a warped shape now, and then I'm just going to press this end down when I'm done, because I forgot to bring my little pliers. You just squish it down, and then I'm bending this bracelet like this. It's tough to bend now, which is good, but it's still bendable. And see, and now it's a curvy wrist shape. Now we're going to do the same with this side. Go back over the tusk itself, and you're not totally covering it because you have a lot of space. Sorry, I just didn't get the two wires to stay together, so I'm just going back. It's really quick to undo that. Yeah, now grab them together. You kids need to stay together. Be good. Now, and you're not covering the whole tusk. There's still these spaces where you can see it, but it's set in, see, set in the wire. It's very nice. And when you do this, it's keeping it in there and keeping it attached well. And again, we're just doing this twirly at the end. Going back over it again up here. See, it's shorter now. I can manage it. I don't feel so bogged down and tangled. This is the good part where I'm all happy. I'm gonna cheat and press it down against the arm of my little sofa because I'm lazy. I need to go get my pliers when I'm done. But right now we're just twirling again up because this makes it harder to bend this cuff and more sturdy and everything. So lovely, lovely. And again, now I'm bending it to the shape of the wrist because you know it's going to stick out askew while you're working. Going back over it again. We're not doing the tusk anymore. We're just doing the bangle. But there we go. Check that out. And then if you have any sharp pieces that are poking you, like this one will, I can feel that. You just press it down with pliers or your nails or whatever you feel like using. There's another one on this end I'll need to attend to where I finish that strand. Yeah, there you go. Need to do my nails again, but when you're working with wire, your polish is going to get messed up anyway, so I thought I'm just going to leave that be until I'm done with working with wire. And then you just are going to have to, now it's catching in my other bracelet. Move, pentacle, please. You're going to have to, so yeah, toggle clasp would probably be better, but when it closes, it's going to look like that. And that's how it's going to look on. This is, I didn't want to do that whole closure because I want to show you the set, how it looks to have two, and you could stack them, or you could put one on each wrist. And I made this one a long time ago, so they're not exactly alike. I might have to redo this one because I get like, oh, I want it perfect. But you know, it's a general concept. You can just have one, you can have two. It's like whatever you want. And it looks really neat, and it did not cost much at all to make. And if you have a stone that curves around like that, like a nice chunk of rock that you want to use or something that's not a boar tusk, that also works. So it didn't take that long, as you saw. I did that in real time just so you can kind of see a little bit slower than I would normally go, but not too much. And you know, it really didn't take that long, and it's sturdy. You can bend it if you try, but if you're not, you know, it bends a little bit enough. I wanted to show you. I need to get a toggle because I can do this with one hand, but it takes me a nice struggle, and I didn't want to do it on my wrist on taking forever. But and it's not going to bend when you don't want it to bend. Like if you want it to not bend, you know, you have to put a little muscle into it. But when you're closing it, it's just a little kind of a spring give, and it's not going to need to do that a lot. And you do see the ends here sticking out a little, but it's a natural boar tusk. It's a thing. I don't think it looks bad at all. It's very pretty, and if you want to make a bigger bangle look and you don't want it to totally hug your wrist, then you can do that too, and it will still look nice, and you don't have to use a toggle. Then you could just use whatever clasp because it's easier to do when it's bigger. So if it's bigger, it would kind of hang down more like this, and then if it's the smaller, tighter version, then it hugs the wrist more like this. So it's just like which look you're going for. And the wire is so inexpensive. I used a bunch. I have a ton left. I mean, this has lasted so long from Joann's that you can do it and practice and, you know, redo it and do whatever you need. If you like, you know, I kind of want it bigger. I do like this, but I want it bigger, or whatever. You can just kind of keep doing it, which is really neat. So yeah, just the wire's an affordable price, and that's just basically how you do it. And if you play around with it and make anything, do tell us how it worked, show us what it was, and hook up with us on our social networks, Instagram, whatever, tag us and tell us what you made, or comment here. And we'll leave all that below with our whole DIY playlist. So we hope you enjoyed, and until next time,
stay spooky, my friends.